Name's Dave Cornwell. I'm going to be talking about a feature called Scheduled Jobs. Scheduled Jobs really is the reason we made computers. It's the reason we write software. It's automation. If instead of doing something manually, set it up to happen automatically. So we're going to go over where it fits in our project plan. We're going to cover some prerequisites for turning on scheduled jobs when you install a new system. I'll show you how to create one and go over some things you can do with them. So in our project plan, the system configuration for scheduled jobs falls in the deployment and configuration section of the project plan under system administration. System administration begins with a customer review session to demonstrate the workflow and discuss system configuration. And then here's our review session outlines the agenda for the meeting with the customer. Each component's outlined in this document to review what information needs to be collected, what decisions need to be made, identify gaps between the standard product and customer requirements. All right. So some of the prerequisites. We have a brand new system you've just installed. There's a few things that need activated before scheduled jobs start actually doing their jobs. We have a wake-up call that needs set up. What that actually translates into is a Linux or Unix cron job that has to be set up by a developer on our server. It basically wakes up WebChart every 5 minutes or so to have it check and see if there's anything that needs done. We're going to need a user to perform these actions. This user, historically we called the user cron jobs. That was always our term for it. I would call it scheduled jobs moving forward. Really just something that you and the client can see and understand. If I have an email document and it was created by scheduled jobs, I know that that was done because of a scheduled job I've configured. That user does need to be active, status of active, but you don't want to set a password. Scheduled jobs doesn't really need to log in with that user. It just needs to reference it. So you don't want a password that someone could try to crack. And then there's a few system settings. The system setting, the first one there is default user. That is just the user ID of our scheduled jobs user. And in my system, it's user ID 29. You have to enable the cron manager. That is a 1 or a 0. 1 to turn it on. It defaults to 0. Turning that on is really just a catch to make sure that on a brand new system, no one could go to the wake up call URL and start triggering out of the box scheduled jobs. Someone with super user has to be able to go in and activate those before they'll start functioning. The next two settings help us filter out the system reports that scheduled jobs use. They're going to filter them by category. We have an email category and a perform category. I've chosen, for my example here, scheduled report for the system reports I want to email the output of, and I chose scheduled job as a category for system reports that I want to perform. So when I go to add a scheduled job, the screen is under the control panel in the scheduled jobs tab, and I click that add scheduled job up at the top there. And I'm going to go ahead and create an appointment reminder. Pretty popular one. Just to remind everyone that they have an appointment in 2 business days from now. That relies on a system report called email appointment reminder, which you see that is the only one in the list here. The reason for that is because of that system setting for perform category. I'm going to go ahead and show this is my email appointment reminder system report, and it has a category of scheduled job. So it is one that I intend to use for scheduled jobs. And then coupled with that system setting of only show me ones that I intend to use with scheduled jobs, now I don't have the thousands of system reports that come with the system. So back on our ad screen, the type for this is called perform report. If you're familiar with system reports, if we've created a system report that is what we call performable, it has an action tied to it. In this case, that action is email the patient. So I create a report that says, find me all the appointments that are going to be happening in 2 days, and I want to be configured to email them and give them the email template of appointment reminder. So we set up a type of perform report. We choose our operation. It's our system report of email appointment reminder. We set it up that we want it to happen for the first time July 9th at 6 a.m. The 6 a.m. part is very important because that's going to be what time it runs every time we do this. According to my recurrence pattern, I want it to happen Monday through Friday. So it's every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. go email everybody that they have an appointment in 2 business days. All right. Another example that we can give, we can email a system report. So this is just run the report, email me the output. And that is a type of email report. Again, the only one in my system that I've set up to use with this is called encounter counts. Just a simple report of how many encounters I had yesterday, just as an example. That one's fairly, and then the rest is just the first run and the recurrence pattern, just like we did before. I'd like that to come to me every morning at 5 a.m. and give me the output of that report so that I don't have to log in and run it myself. And my last example, we have a nightly checkout. This is another popular one for people that use the check-in module. I've gone through my day. I checked in a lot of patients. I didn't quite check all of them out. Maybe little Susie snuck by my desk and I didn't notice that she left, so I never checked her out. And this one will pick it up at the end of the day. I have this set up. Actually, I have this set up for 1 a.m. of the next day. It will just automatically check out any patients that are still left checked in. It's 1 a.m. I'm very confident they've all gone home, so we can go ahead and remove those so that when we start in the next day, I don't have anyone looking like they're in exam room 3 or out in my waiting room. That one's a fairly custom, it's type of automatic checkout. It was popular enough that we gave it its own dedicated type. Some other examples, I did the checkout patients every night, send an email to notify you of an event. We did an appointment reminder. We've also done appointment confirmations, reminder to schedule a waiting list appointment multiple times. I believe every client seems to do that about 3 times on required. They want to make sure they get out there and schedule their mandatory services that they need to go take. We can send a report. I gave the example of give me a count of encounters I did yesterday. We can have just about any metrics. I'd recommend staying away from PHI on sending a report just because it's over email. Some of our clients are very secure. FOH is very intranet, so we don't have to worry too much. But just about everybody else I can think of right now, from our web server out to their email server, I would not consider that safe for PHI. So sticking with metrics or perhaps IDs that could not be tied back to a patient to let you know if there's something waiting for you and a link to get into the system to actually go into the details. See, we can make a lot of updates based on rules. Things like closing old encounters. We can auto decline due list items and mark appointments as no-show if they were not checked in. These are some other popular ones. We've had check-in encounters, I think is one. If they check the patient in and it creates a check-in encounter, but then they turn around and make a visit encounter to actually see the patient, those check-in encounters get forgotten about. So we can set up a role every day or every week to go out and clean up encounters that they never actually needed. The due list items, very popular with health surveillance. If they are not required, not mandatory testing, they're completely voluntary. After a given date, they decide these people are not going to come in and do their voluntary procedures. They're not going to come in and have their cholesterol checked. And since we don't force them to do it, we'll just go ahead and auto decline those and assume that they're not coming in. The marking appointments as no-show. If they don't check them in, we can go ahead and flag it as no-show. That way, when they run a report, they can know who's everyone that failed to show up for their appointment. I need to contact them and let them know they need to come back in.